Hello, this is Robert F. Kennedy Jr., your Secretary of Health and Human Services. Now, a lot of you have been saying that it sounds like I don't want anyone to get vaccines anymore, which is true, because they're a dirty trick by the deep state and Beyonce to get us all attracted to Latinas with big rumps. Anyway, a lot of you all have been asking what we should do instead, and I got something that really works. So first, you need an open wound. I found a feral cat that I've kept trapped in my house, and it's pretty mad at me now. So let's see if we can get this to go. So you can see the scratch marks here. I think this cat was already pretty diseased, so that should help with what we're doing. Now, you're also gonna wanna get some roadkill. You don't want it too fresh. The longer it's been dead and the more diseased it looks, the better. So then you're gonna take that and you're gonna really get that in there. You'll expose your body to a lot of diseases at once, and you can build up your immunity that way. It'll make you strong. And it really works. You can tell by the virility and fullness of my voice. So that's how we're gonna make America healthy again. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to go make sure McDonald's isn't putting any seed oils in the president's lunch. This is Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. I know a lot of you are worried about the president, but I'm here to assure you that he's in good hands. A lot of my staff have quit in the last few days, but that's okay. They were just the ones turning opossum trans, so that we couldn't tell which ones we were supposed to be attracted to. Hey, take that down now. Take that down. Anyway, we're staffed only with the best experts now, and we're giving the president the best treatment you can find. First, we've got these wellness tonics made by sexy blonde ladies on the YouTube. They can cure everything from inflammation to heart attack to lycanthropy. They're full of natural ingredients like water and, well, don't worry about it. All that matters is that this doesn't have red 40. And now that we've saved kids in Florida from having vaccine mandates, we'll just give them this when they're sick. Peter Thiel also turned me on to something called twink juice. I'm not sure what a twink is or what part you're supposed to juice, but he says it's good for a long life. So here we go. Why is this reminding me of Liz Taylor's house parties? So we're still doing our part to make America and the president healthy again. You can tell how good of a job we're doing by how he's been looking the last few days. This is Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. My tan's already starting to fade, but I wanted to address a few things from the hearing. First off, I resent Senator Wyden's implications about me being on the plane. I'm no more of a than the president is. He also brought up something about a wheezing kid, which I took as a personal attack. They didn't give me a chance to talk about reducing animal testing, which is one of our biggest wins. Since ivermectin worked so well during COVID, we're actually going to start testing horse medicine on humans first. We're also going to recommend that humans supplement their diets with hay. Speaking of COVID, there's no evidence for what they're saying. The data is chaos. What's that? Double-blind trials? Double-blind? Is this like what Uncle Jack got up to with Maryland? I also want to remind everybody that Senator Warren got $855 gajillion from the pharma industry. Senator Tina Smith then brought up the Annunciation thing, and she said I blamed it on antidepressants. That's not true. All are because of trans kids. Senator Warnock then blamed me for the couple of kids who had measles in Texas. Between that and Samoa, I'm only responsible for losing a few dozen kids. The Second Amendment people lose more than that in a month. And then he brought up the CDC like I'm responsible for that. Anyway, don't listen to what those Democrats say. Our party knows how to keep people healthy. This is Robert F. Kennedy Jr. A lot of people have asked me how I knew I was going to be an important person one day. I went with Elon to Peru to do ayahuasca. And in my vision, a llama came up to me and told me I was going to outdo the Kennedy family legacy. The llama spit in my face and walked away, which I thought was a good sign. Peter Thiel thought the llama was saying undo, but I knew that couldn't be right. Anyway, we all had an orgy after that, and I got one of those venereal diseases that eats your brain, which the worm didn't like. So I had to go to the hospital to get that taken care of. We need to take that part out. Let's edit out the hospital part and bring up something holistic or something like that. That was a wild trip. What were you asking again? This is Secretary Kennedy following up on today's announcement. We discovered that Tylenol causes autism. You don't have to listen to those scientists and doctors who disagree with us. They're not as smart as the president is.
Nothing bad can happen. It can only good happen.
You can't take ibuprofen if you're pregnant either. That one gives your kids X-Men powers, but not the fun ones. If you've got a fever while you're pregnant, then what you're gonna do is go find a squirrel carcass, bite down into it, and scream. The bacteria you get from it will make your baby's immune system stronger. And if that doesn't work, then the girls from your high school Donald would have dated will reach out to you soon with a better solution. We're suggesting leucovorin. Well, Medicaid and CHIP are gonna cover that. We're still figuring out what's wrong with vaccines too, like the MMR. Like the president said, they're pumping so many vaccines into our kids. And he, if anyone, should know, it's not vaccines you want to pump into the kids. What do you mean I should rephrase that? For God's sake, we're giving babies the hepatitis B vaccine. Everyone knows you only get that from making love to a Wendigo. We'll also investigate toxic and pharmaceutical exposures, like Flintstones vitamins, or watching woke shows like Bluey. No area is off limits. That's why Stephen Miller suggested we investigate the shapes of people's skulls as a factor. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to go make sure the president doesn't get another stroke. Over par in his next golf game. This is Robert F. Kennedy Jr. My nephew Jack Schlossberg, who's running for Congress, called me a rabid dog. I tried to tell him it wasn't a dog. It was a chupacabra from that time I went to Tijuana to go to a donkey show. They told me I was supposed to get some shots, but I just exercised and took some supplements. And I'm fine now. Anyway, he's making me seem like I'm crazy. Would a crazy person direct the CDC to study the health effects of offshore wind farms? We know they're blowing in autism from Europe. Why else would they have so many trains over there? Would a crazy person prioritize trying to save a bunch of Canadian ostriches from being euthanized by sending them to Dr. Oz's farm? I know they have bird flu, but it's not like that's gonna affect humans at all. And I'm not crazy for leaving behind that man who fell during the press briefing. I just didn't want to deal with it. Anyway, I've got to go work on that serum that'll keep Mariah Carey frozen until Thanksgiving. That initiative actually seems kind of popular. This is Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Let's address the elephant in the room. Yes, that is a severed elephant member in the corner of the room. It's for scale, so I can pull an LBJ and show people it really is that big. I'm just kidding. Peter Thiel forgot it here once. For some reason, he calls it J.D. Vance's training wheels. In all seriousness, you probably saw the poems I wrote to my lover, Olivia Nuzzi. I don't know why people are so surprised. The Kennedys are a very cultured family. Speaking of Nussy, we're gonna get a plastic surgeon from Miami to come to Mar-a-Lago to come fix this, so just hold tight. On the policy front, people have been complaining about our plan to put gyms in airports. I don't know why they're so against it. I always work out before flying anywhere with Cheryl, and she likes the exposure to my natural musk. People have gotten on my back for the breastfeeding comments, too. How are we supposed to keep young boys from turning gay if we don't get them exposed to women's breasts as early as possible? Anyway, I've got to go give the president a Celsius so he can stay awake for his next briefing. This is Robert F. Kennedy Jr. You might have heard that we're about to run Vuvuzela, or encourage policy changes. I know making an entire country listen to Marco Rubio is pretty cruel, but we got tired of him moping around and needed to give him something to do. But the Vuvuzelans will love it. We'll make sure they use my new food pyramid. Every citizen is going to eat 5 pounds of red meat per day. And we'll bring in Argentinian cattle to help with that. They owe us something for the 40 billion bucks. Anyway, I've got to make sure the president takes his next CT scan. This is completely normal. Nothing to worry about.